Hi. I'm just gonna wait for more people to join, and when TJ joins, I'll add him. Um, Hopefully today will go well. I've got good hopes for it.
Hey,
Hi. How you doing?
I'm doing good, yeah.
Good, good, good. How's your week been?
Um, it's been good. Just been getting lots of messages about Saturday. So,
Uh,
yeah.
Saturday went really, really well. Yeah, just basically kind of explain because you were there more than I was. So explain to everyone that's in what happened on Saturday.
So on Saturday, there was a Black Lives Matter protest, which was called Justice for Slaves, which was protesting about the statue of Henry Dundas at St. Andrew's Square
Okay.
because he delayed slavery by 15 years and we wanted to be taken down and put in a museum.
So, is your viewpoint in the point of getting it completely removed? Where do you want it to go? Because I feel like a lot of people within the Black community have very different views. So,
Yeah,
what's your personal viewpoint?
my personal view is that I think statues that are linked to slavery in any way shouldn't be up. I think that they
Mm-hmm.
should be put in a museum because they're still a part of Scottish history. I just think
Mm-hmm.
that having them in public sends off the wrong message about the city,
Yeah,
because it's basically saying, oh, we acknowledge slavery, we acknowledge racism, and
mm-hmm.
having that message about the city is a bad one.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I kind of feel similar to that, but I'm just kind of like, even if they go in a museum, like, will people
It's
really
still
pay
bad.
attention to what's being said? Or like, do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Will they still be glorified, or will they be like actually made accountable for what they done? But yeah, that's fair. But yeah, that's what happened on Saturday, guys. If you missed it, there's videos and posts on our social media so you can catch up. This is TJ. Um, he is a young student in Edinburgh. He has done amazing things for us so far. His voice is powerful. Like for such a young boy, TJ, let me like commend you that even at the first protest we had, you brought me to tears, and I was just like, oh my God, like it was just so powerful what you said. And yeah, just kind of tell everyone a bit about yourself and how you got involved and what kind of made you feel like
Yeah. So I started looking into the Black Lives Matter movement when I was around 10 years old. It was straight after I had my first racial incident.
hmm
When someone came up to me in the shops and just called me a monkey and started shoving bananas in my face. I'm 14 years old and I go to Edinburgh Academy.
okay. And how do you find, because that's a private school in one of the like
Yeah.
most white and affluent populated areas in
Yeah.
Edinburgh. So how do you find being a black man in those surroundings?
It's definitely different to my primary school because my primary school was more diverse. I think that's mainly
hmm
because it was a public school, but even just being there is a good thing. It shows that our schools more are becoming more diverse in a sense, and even adding two more black pupils a year is closing the gap between the people of color in the school and white people and people of one color white. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like is it like as you just said, is it two black peoples a year or like what is the ratio?
I don't know the ratio exactly, but in my year, there's it's me and someone else who are fully black,
hmm
and then there's I think three more people of color in our year. Yeah.
hmm And did you find that like maybe like some of the teachers made it quite hard for you joining in or like the pupils? Like what was the
Um,
biggest difficulty?
I think the biggest difficulty would be that I moved to the school by myself, and no one from any of my other schools were there. But
Hmm.
teachers are overly nice. They don't say anything racist at all, and
Yeah.
it's really accepting about it. Yeah.
Okay. And do you feel like you've ever experienced like anything systematically or like microaggressions and just the way that people are
Uh,
kind of shocked at you for even just being in
yeah.
the school or like succeeding in your exams and stuff like that? Do you feel like people are kind of
Yeah,
shocked?
I've gotten a few microaggressions with people assuming I'm someone else. People have thought that I was automatically the son of a black teacher there, and it's
Okay.
just things like that.
Hmm. And see the black teacher that is there, are they very like aware on the racial climate and do they kind of
Yeah,
try and
they don't go to the school anymore, but
oh,
when they were there, they knew about like the racial the racial aspect of the school, how people of color were definitely a minority there, especially black people.
okay. And do they try and like incorporate different kind of like cultural educations and things like that? Like, do you know how like you get the special weeks, like this is like this awareness week or
Yeah,
mental health or something? Is there like a
yeah, uh, yeah, our school are really big on that. So
mhm,
making sure how lots of issues are highlighted, especially in language subjects. We do stuff from all around the world.
mhm.
And for example, right now we're doing a Mali project. So it's we take on different cultures in lots of subjects.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's good. I actually forgot to ask you at the start. Where is your heritage? Like, where are you from? Just tell the guys a little bit about that. And
So my dad is from Zimbabwe and my mom is from Guadeloupe, which is in the Caribbean, West Indies.
okay. And were you born here or were you born back home?
I was born here, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I said that's fine as if like it's actually fine. I just kind of like, okay, cool. But yeah, back to the school thing. I just thought I forgot to actually ask you at the start. Um, is there many differences you feel that you've noticed as opposed like in private school as opposed to public school?
Uh, I think that, well, I can tell from like a public high school, but when I was in primary school for a public primary school from primary 1 to 7, I
Mm,
didn't really experience any racism there that I can
yeah.
recall, but it's definitely different to a private school, a private high school.
Mm. And what so see in school, like if a racial incident happens, is this how does the school handle that? Because I feel like when I was in high school, my school was pretty rubbish, and unless it was something physically done to you, I feel like my school just had an assembly, and that was kind of let's just speak to all the kids, and that's it. That's it. They're gonna learn a lesson. So has your school like what's in place at your school? What do they do if like they
In
do
my
come into
school,
racial?
they basically they take on everything that you say as true at first, and then they immediately investigate it, talk to people about it. But sometimes it's just your word against theirs, which is hard to actually make something happen, which justice can be served because it's my word against theirs, which is probably the worst part about it.
And do you feel like you've ever come across a point where like the teachers haven't taken your side or it's not been dealt with properly, even though people know what happened?
Yeah, someone called said I had Ebola because I was from Africa,
Mm.
and another person was there when it happened, and he just said, "Oh, I don't want to be involved, so I'm just gonna say it didn't happen." So
Oh,
they
okay.
just so it was more like their word against mine. But
And even
it's
that, like, that's the biggest thing I think that like people don't realize that like even though they might not be a racist person or they might not have done the act to you, by them not getting involved or not speaking on your half or
yeah,
just even validating what you said is true, that's still just as damaging and that
yeah,
still
it's
is just as bad as
mostly
the
because
instance.
like when something like this happens, it breaks your trust within people of power,
Hmm.
which which can lead to you less likely to tell them things, which can lead to you less likely to actually report incidents later on in your life to,
Yeah.
for example, the police.
Has there
which
ever been like a
uh,
case that like a teacher's maybe witnessed it and then they've still not raised
no,
it?
like when people say these type of things, they make sure how like no one's in earshot of it.
Okay. At least that's kind of good. It sounds better than when I was in school because like, that's almost like 10 years now. But yeah, when I was in school, it was kind of like if I didn't say it myself, no one spoke about it. Or like if I did speak about it, it was just kind of like an assembly or like in PSE, they would kind of like, oh, we're having the racism chat. And that's really it. It wasn't really like anything else. It was
Yeah,
kind of like, oh, racism is bad and that's all we're saying on it. Not so much like this is the effect of if you do this and this is what happens further
because
down
I
the line.
think that people think it's a really sensitive topic, which I think that it really isn't. There's only one viewpoint of it, and
Hmm.
that's bad. You shouldn't say certain things. But I think that because it's perceived as a sensitive topic, then people are less inclined to actually talk about it, which
Yeah,
leads people being less informed.
yeah, that's true. Um, what would you like your school to do in future to make better changes and to make it more of an open conversation?
I think that actually talking to black peoples and people of color about this, it would be a step forward because
Hmm.
I've like it's come up like once or twice, but not an actively open conversation about it, which I think
Yeah.
needs to change, which my school have acknowledged. They've said they want to change, they want to talk to pupils about it, which
Yeah.
shows that they're willing to actually do something about it.
And has your school reached out to you? Obviously, now you've been pretty much at the forefront in both protests. Has the school kind of like reached out and said anything to you?
Yeah, I've been told by teachers that it was really good I spoke. Teachers have said they want to me to talk in a lesson, and I think that me actually being able to do that will help others to actually do that themselves, which
Mhm.
can lead to less racism in school, even if it
Yeah.
is a small amount.
Yeah. At least that's like they're acknowledging it and like they're asking you to educate people and stuff. But even remember yourself, like some don't feel like you need to be pressured into being like, I'm gonna tell everybody like and educate people because at the same time, the internet is free. Like if
Yeah,
people really want to be educated, they can educate themselves. I get it to some point. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah. I
Yeah.
think that because it's people do see it as a sensitive topic, and if they
Hmm.
actually want to say, "Oh, but why don't you do blah blah blah," I think that these things are going to be attacked for it from every part, which I think is a bad mentality because I think that cancel culture
Yeah.
shouldn't really be around because even though people make mistakes, as long as you learn from it and you make change,
Yeah.
then actually a good thing.
Yeah. It's this. I'm honestly so proud of you because even when I think of like at my age, I think it was just like I knew it was going on, but if I was asked to speak at your age and doing like I'm gonna be like in the protest stuff, I would be like, I'll leave it to the others. Like they can do whatever, but be proud of yourself because you've been doing amazing and your words have been getting across. I just want to speak to you about culture. So,
Yeah,
obviously, being in a predominantly white school,
yeah.
how have you learned your like Afro Caribbean culture? How have you developed that out of school?
So I hang around with a lot of black people outside of school,
Hmm.
and I've been to the Caribbean, Guadeloupe multiple times, and I've been to Zimbabwe as well. So I think that even though I live here, I'm still in touch with my Caribbean and African side because I'm seeing it all the time,
Hmm.
which I
And do
think
you
that is,
speak any of your native languages?
oh no, I don't.
Okay,
I
but do you
know,
understand them?
yeah, I
Okay,
understand them.
that's good.
Yeah,
So, do you have like so I think when I was growing up, obviously growing up in like Scotland, I kind of found like I would have like my white friends and then I'd have my black friends. And it's
yeah,
kind of like two different sides because you would like your culture would change within them.
yeah.
Do you kind of find yourself balancing between that and having to assimilate?
Yeah. So I enjoy hanging out with them both. Like it's with my white friends, with my black friend. I think that when certain topics come up,
Hmm.
it's the mood changes. For example, racism.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to talk about that with my black friends, then it would be, oh yeah, we can say whatever we want because we've all gone through it. But if I were to say it with my white friends, then the conversation would just die down because they don't know what they're allowed to say and what they're not allowed to say. Which I
Mm-hmm.
think that if we actually educate people, then we'll be able to have open conversations like that.
Yeah. Have you ever had any like friends that have kind of like not so much crossed the line, but maybe said something that they thought that because they're friends with you, they can say like such and such as
Yeah,
saying.
all the time. Yeah.
Oh, really? And how do you handle that?
Uh, Most of the time I brush off because I know they don't know anything about
Mm-hmm.
racial slurs, or but at the same time some people do it knowingly and willingly, and some people um they just make excuses for it, which is why especially now, like some of my friends, they haven't posted anything about Black Lives Matter on their stories, haven't
Mm-hmm.
said anything, which is why I actually know like who my real friends are now, because
Yeah.
they're actually willing to stand up for not only Black Lives Matter but for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're not standing up for that, how do I know they're not going to? They won't do the same to me. Because I
Yeah.
think that as long as you acknowledge, as long as if you disregard that part about Black Lives Matter, then
Mm-hmm.
you're disregarding my culture, what I believe in, what I stand in, which is bad because this is something that actually needs addressing because it's equality for Black people.
And have you had many of like your white friends or friends of other races reach out to you during these times and be like, "I hope you're okay," and just check in on you? Because I think that's been the big difference of me knowing my friends and things, and just the ones that have actually took the time to be like, "Are you okay? Everything's blown up in the news. Like, are you okay watching this and having to go through all these trigger moments and stuff like that?" So like, I think
Yeah,
that's been a big thing.
yeah, people have reached out and said, "Oh, I didn't know. I've seen this on the news. Didn't know this happened to you. Hope you're doing okay. Sorry if I've said anything in the past." Which I
Mm-hmm.
think that as long as you're acknowledging your mistakes and as long as you're making sure that Black people and your Black friends are okay, then you're willing and wanting equality for Black people.
Mm-hmm. Because that's been like the big thing of like just even I think because when one of the first friend that did it and like asked if I was okay, I was a bit like, yeah, I'm fine. Like just didn't really think it was anything of it, and they were like, no, like with racial relations, are you okay? Like, have you seen the news of like da da da? And that it took me back, and I was like, oh, like wow. So some people actually do understand where we're coming from now, and like they do
Yeah.
care for us. So, it's been good. Um, how have you found your experience of having to kind of assimilate both inside and outside of school?
Uh, I think I've always been assimilating to some sense because when I say certain things to certain people, I see their reactions. I know that, oh, I shouldn't say that. And I
Mm,
think that knowing when to censor myself and when to say certain things, it's
yeah.
more of a known thing. But I think
Mm,
that the fact that I'm even assimilating things, especially when it comes to racism, I think is a bad thing because
mm.
it shouldn't be like a touchy subject.
Or even
Because
just in sense of like your personality and thinking like, say if it
yeah,
was like if I'm a bit too loud, like it's one of those things of like for black women, like if we
yeah,
stand our ground and defend ourselves, say if someone was being like rude or whatever, but if we defended that rudeness, they'd be like, oh, well, you're an angry black woman. So like you kind of feel like, oh, I can't raise my voice, I can't do whatever, da da da. So do you ever feel like you need to like, have you ever had to like dull down your blackness or kind of in that capacity?
um, I think that my black side is definitely part of my personality, which I can show
Mm-hmm.
because I think that especially with my white friends, they're accepting of it and they don't say anything about it. And that's one of the things that I like about my friends is that
Yeah.
they acknowledge that part and they like it. And the fact that my black friends can acknowledge that, oh, I don't speak like I'm a roadman or something, then they're
Mm-hmm.
just then they're okay with it, or I don't speak like I'm from a public school, and they're okay with it, is a good thing.
Yeah. I'm just noticing the question that's there on the thing. It's quite a good question. It says, "Do you still be friends with someone who doesn't care?"
No,
Um,
no. Simple,
in
no.
one word, just no. But like, I think yeah, to kind of explain it, like if someone doesn't care or someone doesn't show they care, then what is the point of having them in your circle or
Yeah.
having them around you? Because if you
Well,
don't care for the cause that is our own lives,
yeah, because people have said, I don't care about Black Lives Matter. I don't care what's happening around the world. And it's happened during like this
mm-hmm.
whole George Floyd case. And they've said, I don't care about Black Lives Matter. White
Yeah,
people die more, whatever, whatever. Basically lies. And I think that, no, and they were a close friend of mine. And seeing them say that is basically a wake up call because I know that now I know who my friends are, what they're willing to say,
mm-hmm.
what they actually think, and
Yeah,
they've been saying that publicly to other people. So I think that even them acknowledging that and saying racist things is basically the biggest indication for me to cut them off.
that's explained very well. Um, but yeah, it's one of those things of like even the people that are like, I'm not racist, but all lives matter, and like I've had like some well, old friends that have like even said that, and I'm a bit like, if you fully believe that and you want to say like, yes, all lives do matter, but at this moment in time, with how bad things are getting within racial climate, that's when it gets to a point of like their lives need to matter just as much as all the other lives you're talking about, because
Yeah,
Black lives
because I
can't
think,
matter unless all lives the other way around. All lives
yeah,
can't matter unless Black lives don't.
because the whole sense of Black Lives Matter, it was because Black people were being killed by the police and we were being innocently killed. And that's the main thing we want to stop happening. And the fact that we've been doing this year after year after year, and we
Mm.
keep on saying, how is this happening in 2015, 2016? Continuous. And I think that we, now that George Floyd has died, sadly, I think that this is actually a chance for change to happen.
Mhm. How did you feel? Like, how did watching the George Floyd pass and like how did you feel watching that as like a 14-year-old? So how did you think about that?
I don't normally watch like black people being killed, especially by the police. I just
Hmm.
don't like it. But I brought myself to watch this one and it was the worst
Yeah.
because the way in his pleas were being ignored by the police. Four police officers were standing by doing nothing. And
Hmm.
the fact that it took someone to die for actual change to happen is a bad thing. Because
Yeah.
now in I think it was New Jersey, they've made it essential that Black history be taught in every single grade,
Hmm.
which I think is the biggest step.
That is a really big step. But it's I hope that even though they make these changes, I hope they still don't find ways to put a pressure within them because that is still systematic. If that
Yeah,
makes sense. But yeah, I think with George Floyd, one of the hardest things, like as hard as it was, just the whole factor of the whole 8 minutes and 46 seconds. One of the hardest things that I found was his daughter's reasoning for grieving her father's death was to say that my dad's changed the world, and she's under the age of 10. Like it's a hard thing that like she had to realize that her dad's died at that young, but then to also be like it's okay because dad's changed the world. Look at what's happening around and whatever. I think that was one of the hardest things for me to hear.
yeah. I think that the fact that Black people are still dying in 2020 is
Mm-hmm.
weird. I think that it's bad. I think that it's the worst thing because why should someone have to die for real change to happen?
Yeah,
Multiple deaths has happened the last 10 years. Why couldn't change happen then? And I
it's
honestly
still been
think,
happening as well.
yeah, and it's still happening now. Breonna Taylor, she died
Mm-hmm.
in her sleep innocently. And the fact that it's happening after George Floyd's case and it's happening because of his case is a bad
Yeah,
thing. Because it shouldn't be a question of if, it should be a question of when you're actually going to do it and
yeah.
when, and that's been answered and it's now.
Have you seen in the news that like lynching has been starting up again in America?
Yeah,
And well, actually, it's not even in the news. It's not been reported. It's been social media started reporting it.
yeah. It was I think one of them was Robert Fuller. Yeah, his
So there's been
family.
quite a few lynchings. It's so scary.
Yeah, and the thing is, all the people who have died weren't suicidal, which is the
Mm.
weirdest thing because it isn't because Robert Fuller's brother, half brother, was killed by the police.
Mm.
I think a week before. I think that
Oh my
uh,
God.
the fact that it's two people have died from lynching and by the police is a bad thing. And I
Mm.
think that why should this be happening when we are so aware of when we're so aware of it? I
Mm.
think that's the biggest question.
I think that's the scariest thing about it is that even after George Floyd has died and like all these protests are going on all over the world and everyone's screaming and trying to like just express how badly it's going on, there is still lynchings, there's still killings, there's still police brutality, there's still so many things that are going on, but because the media is not reporting them, people don't know. So it's having to take social media to find out things.
Yeah, and I think that especially now that we're in quarantine and lockdown, I think that because everything is being silent and we're not hearing any news, that has contributed to the George Floyd case is and his death actually being um, given media attention because the
Do you
whole
get
world is put on standstill because of it.
yeah? Do you get worried that after lockdown people are going to forget and do you get worried that it's just going to be like a small phase of small little changes and then that's it because like, everyone's back to normal?
I think that I am worried about it, but at the same time, it's become such a big thing all around the world that
Mm.
people, like in London, for protests week after week, and I think that it's happening all
Yeah,
the time. That it's that it's not going to go away, but that's the biggest fear about it. That it
hmm
is.
I know. That's the one thing that I do hope that like yes, everyone's got plans for like short term and long term changes, but I just hope that the same momentum that is like going around now, even though it has slightly died down, I hope that it still stays level and we still see the changes going around.
Yeah.
Um, so what do you have like planned for the future? What do you have in mind of how to just kind of like keep the momentum going and keep people hearing your voice? Because the way you write is really good. I was reading through the script that you sent me yesterday from like both protests. So yeah,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? Are you gonna keep writing?
I think that if an opportunity comes up for me to speak again, I'll
Mm-hmm.
probably take it. I think that I want to talk to constituency MPs about it. I want to do things with my school because they've said they want to address it, and they said they want to address how Black history is being implemented. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that as long as I'm uh, working actively to stop this and helping other people and educating them, then change will actually happen. Because doing, as long as I'm helping people and helping them realize that it's a real problem,
Mm-hmm.
then they'll actually realize, oh, I might have said something to someone that was offensive. Let me go and apologize. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I have some spare money. Maybe I'll donate it to a charity.
Yeah.
So as long as I'm helping people realize mistakes they've made and what they need to do to change, then I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. That's good. Um, what plans do you have in the future to keep your voice heard? Like even in the sense of like, yes, you're gonna be in the schools and doing whatever, but are you
Yeah.
gonna like musically, poetry, are you gonna keep that as like a passion or anything like that, or is
I'll probably keep on writing about things. Um, I'll keep them in I'll keep on writing. I'll keep on making sure that issues are addressed. I'll put them on my Instagram. I'll put them on my Snapchat. I'll even if it isn't at a protest, I'll still write them and I'll still put them out because as long as issues like this are around, then people still need to hear.
Yeah. And what do you think for you personally? Like, what's one of the most things that you hold closest to your heart within the whole cause, like education, healthcare? Like, what part do you think holds close to you?
I think is isn't really to do with education or health. I think that breaking down stereotypes is the biggest thing because
Hmm.
it's these stereotypes that lead to incidents being happen. The people say black people are dangerous, that black people are a
Hmm.
threat to society. People even say immigrants don't do anything. But in the UK, they make up 20% of the NHS. And I think that
Hmm.
when you break down these stereotypes, then people will actually realize, oh, black people are nice people. Oh, they do things that benefit us. And I think that when you break them down, then people actually realize that black people aren't a threat, that black people help you in ways that you didn't realize before.
Which side of your culture do you feel that you get stereotyped more? Your Zimbabwean culture, or your like Caribbean culture?
My Zimbabwean culture, because I think that when people see me, they automatically think, "Oh, you're from Africa," and I'm
Hmm.
thinking, I could be from the Caribbean, I could be anywhere, I could be from France for all you know, but you
Hmm.
just assume that because of stereotypes, you assume that
Yeah.
because of the way I look, and when
Do
people
you
hear,
know? Sorry, what were you saying?
no, it's fine.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, for your Caribbean culture, do you know how long, like how far down it goes, and is there any heritage to slavery or anything like that? Like, is there any link to it, or are you purely
Um,
like?
I think in my Caribbean culture, I think it was my great great grandmother who was a slave. I think
Hmm.
uh, I'm pretty sure that it was that. But I do know that somewhere in my Caribbean culture that someone related, that um, someone who lived there was a slave, and I think, and I want to learn more about that. I just think that um, I need to actually go back to experience it. So,
And is your surname, does it come from the slavery line, or is that like an original surname?
my surname is from my mum's side,
Hmm.
Caribbean Lamonthe.
Hmm.
It's French because Guadeloupe is a French territory there.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. That's actually
And it
right.
goes, I think it goes back 3, 4. I'm not like 3, 4 generations. I'm not sure.
Ah,
Around.
okay. Because it's
Yeah.
quite a common thing that, like, if you're from the Caribbean, most likely if you've got a Western sounding surname or like a European sounding
Yeah.
surname, it is linked to that background. Um, would you be able to, or would you be willing to maybe read us what you said at the protest on Saturday? Because when I read it back and when I watched it back, I was like, a lot of people don't, you've put lots of facts in it and like lots of statistics. So I think, yeah, would you mind maybe saying that? Because I feel like a lot of people don't
Yeah.
know it.
I'll have to come off for like a minute and then
Yeah,
I'll
that's
get it.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Right. Yeah, if anyone has anything they want me to ask him quickly before he comes back, put it in the comments and I will see. I'm just going to catch up and read. The comment that's there is about the economic blackout. That sounds really good. If anyone has, I don't know if anyone's heard, but the rapper TI has organized some blackout as well in July. So yeah, maybe have a look at that as well if you wanted to do both. I don't know if the TI one is American only, but if we pass it around the world, it'd be good. Sorry, guys. Right. I'm just answering the questions that are here. So the one by Venom Vampire. Do you celebrate Scottish traditions like Burns Night? Um, Me personally, no, I'm about to answer the question. Me personally, I've never actually celebrated Burns Night, but in schools, like obviously growing up in Scotland in schools, they used to do it. So they used to, I think they still do it now, but you'd have like Kayleys and you do Scottish dancing and stuff like that. But I've never really like celebrated and done the actual act. TJ's back, so hopefully she'll come back. I'll ask TJ that question about Burns Night as well when he comes back. Don't know why it's taking him a little bit long. Hold on. See if that one works. Sorry, guys. Hiya. Just before you read it, I was asking a question. Um, I'll answer the protest question really quickly. There's not a protest booked this Saturday,
No.
but there's one on Thursday in Fife if anyone stays on that side of town. I posted it in the story earlier, and the link is in the bio of our account. So if you want to go Thursday to the one in Falkirk, no, not Falkirk, sorry, it's not Falkirk, it's Fife. If you want to go to the one in Fife, yeah, or you stay in that area, go to that one on Thursday. Yeah, I was just answering the questions that people have put in just while you were like getting ready. Someone has asked if we celebrate Burns Night. So I've said that me personally, I don't. Like, I've never really, like, I know of it, but I've just never celebrated it. Do you celebrate Burns Night?
No, not really. No. Like if it's in school, then they'll probably say something about it. But at
Mm-hmm.
home, no.
Yes, I was like, I'm in school, but never really at home.
Yeah.
There's another quick question I was going to answer. So, I wanted to ask you about slave owner status we have here in Edinburgh and Scotland in general. Personally, I think it's time to take them down and put in a museum. So, I just don't want to say the wrong thing and name people, but yeah, I'm sure there's. Do you know any of the slave owners, TJ, that were from Edinburgh, Scotland?
No, I do know about Joseph Knight though, who was instrumental in helping slaves out when he was one in
Yeah,
Britain. But actively, no. I just think that anyone who's linked with slavery in any way, their statue should be put in a museum because
yeah,
it sends off the wrong image about um, Edinburgh. And I think that when you take them away, put them in a museum, then you'll learn about Scottish history, but you'll also learn about what they've done. Because
mm,
taking them away from public spaces creates a better look for the city.
yeah. And I think that's the one thing that a lot of people are in agreement on is the fact that no one's saying to just completely get rid of them and to eradicate them. It's just more that they shouldn't be used as a tourist attraction
Yeah,
because that is essentially what they are used for now. And people are there like not realizing that that's what the heritage of that statue is. But yeah, so talking about slave statues and whatever, read us what you said on Saturday because I feel like a lot of people, if they missed it, need to hear that.
I've been told I should be happy to live in Britain because we're the least racist. But why should I be happy that you're even racist? It became an offense to be racist in 1998. And since 2005, there have been over 45,000 offenses. That's insane. To think that the country we live in, the country that we trust, have only haven't convicted most of these people for the things they've done. It all stems from the past, and I'm going way back to the times when we worked for you without being paid or given a snack. Because some of the stereotypes back then are still around now that were dangerous, that were a threat to society. Wow. How have we allowed those stereotypes to stick around so long? It's because racist movements are still going strong. Here's something that we keep on saying every year. How is this happening in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020? We're saying the same things year after year after year, but now there's enough attention for people to actually hear our pleas, for Black people to stop dying on these streets, for Black mothers to stop dealing with this grief, for us begging not to be violated and be reminded of the time of slavery. We hear excuses for racism every day. I was young, I was drunk, I was on drugs, okay. I believe that you were all of these things, but why make excuses for your mistake? Now here's something I'd like to say. Just because I don't shed a tear doesn't mean I'm not in pain. I don't need emotion. I don't need to show you emotion for you to believe me, okay? Now here's something you should know about slaves. If they showed emotion, happy or sad, they wouldn't eat that day. They'd spend another 12 hours on the plantation slaving away. And there's still people saying stuff like this is okay. When we say Black Lives Matter, that means we want equality. When we say Black Power, that means we want the opportunity to be in high places just like you. But to do that, we need to get rid of all these racist statues.
Yay! Oh, you're such a young, amazing Black Prince and King. Like, you're gonna do so well, and I can just see it for you. Thank you for reading that. I feel like everyone, yeah, really needed to hear that, and even if they missed it. Um, how did you find Saturday with the counter protests? So yeah, obviously, I think people know that the
Yeah,
UK is really out in themselves, and we're
yeah.
kind of one of the only countries that's having counter protests against this Black Lives Matter. But how did you feel seeing them there? Like, how did you find him?
I was actually I was one of the closest people to the fence to where they
Mm-hmm.
are. And honestly, it didn't faze me. They were screaming all sorts of stuff, and I didn't care because I know that anything they can say, in their defense, I can just rebuttal them on it because
Mm-hmm.
the only thing that's they're saying is based on emotion. What we are saying are based on facts and experiences. Someone said that I had a sign saying I'm not a slave, I'm equal, and someone said, no one's ever called you a slave, which isn't true because someone did and they got in trouble for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Is that
think
someone
that,
from your school that had said that?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
but the school dealt with that really well. Like the minute I
Mm-hmm.
told them, everything was sorted.
That's good.
But I think that they were screaming at me during my speech, saying that what I was saying wasn't true. And it was just getting to the point where I was so frustrated, I just had to tell them that what I was saying was true and for them to be quiet. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, they can say what they want. They're not saying any. What they're saying is based on emotion. What we're saying is based on facts. And if they want to say anything in their defense, then it just won't work because they've been photographed saying all these racist things. They've said on
Yeah.
social media. And as long as they can shout as much as they want, people know what they mean and no one's standing with them.
Mm-hmm. That was the one thing I think because I'd obviously seen the counter protesters down south and whatever, and it was like a madness. I think I
Yeah.
was when I got there, I was like, oh, there's about 10 people.
Yeah.
And I think that was the thing. Even when the like on the social media that the guy had for that, like the way he was like going on, I thought it would have been like considering it's the capital city of Scotland, I thought maybe it'll be quite big. And I think
Because
I was anxious about that.
because there were like 50 after the protest. Edinburgh Live posted something with all the photos, and there were 50 people saying all sorts of racist things. Yeah, I
Mm,
only see 20 of them at the protest, and it makes no sense.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that's the thing, it's like they what their presence was so small at Saturday's protest that
yeah.
it was like it was embarrassing for them. That's the thing, it was embarrassing for them, but yeah, how do you think like what's your viewpoint on the fact that the UK is having counter protests? Like what do you obviously you said in your speech about how Britain says we're not the least racist or whatever. Like, what does that what does that make you feel like?
It's just the fact that there are actually people that still think like that, which is the weird thing, because
Mm.
we've moved on as a society for so long, but because people like that are still around, that's what's stopping actual change from happening. And I
Mm.
think that even you can say all you want about, oh, they're drunk, they're on drugs. People were there shouting, oh, I'm sober, I'm not on her, I'm not drunk, I'm not on drugs, I'm not young. And they're actively saying, oh, I genuinely believe this. And there was a plane with a banner above
Mm.
the Man City versus Burnley game, and it
Okay.
was saying White Lives Matter Burnley. Uh, and it was the
Really?
weirdest. Yeah. And
When was
that's
that?
I think it was sa- sa- Sunday, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it was
Oh.
that people genuinely think this and are paying money for a plane to fly by saying that is the worst thing.
Mm. I know that's the thing. It's like with me with the counter protest, the biggest thing is like people are genuinely protesting to have the right to discriminate and the right to be racist and the right to project hate on people based on skin color. Something so uncontrollable that you can't change, like skin
Yeah,
color. And people
like
actually want to fight their right for it.
even on one of the posts I did, like an account called like Proper British or something, saying no one's ever called you a slave. You're just bringing up issues that were buried ages ago. Like, no,
Mm.
these were actual issues that I've gone through at the age of 14, and people are saying my experiences have never happened, which is the weirdest thing.
And
Because
I think
how,
that's what speaks volumes is the fact that you're 14. Like you're a young boy. You shouldn't have to understand the world as this is what it is. You shouldn't have to go through all these levels of oppression and go through racism and stuff at that age. And you shouldn't have to be fighting for your own right. You're not even of adult age yet. Does that make sense?
yeah,
You should
but the
still be
fact,
in your innocence.
yeah, but even with these things that have gone on, it's just I've taken it on the chin. I've moved forward on it, and it's made everything I say that more impactful.
Hmm.
And I think that's part, even though it's a negative, there's there's lots of positives that go through that come out of me going through this experience. I can help educate others. I can help actual change to happen. So when they knock me down, I come back 10 times better. And that's the whole idea of it.
That's so true. There's one more question. I'll do the last one before we say bye. Um, are you both hopeful that the numbers are representative of the force of their movement? Hope that right. Okay. Did you hear that question?
Oh, no, not quite.
So, sorry. Someone called the Blackbeard Karen or Kraken. Yeah, the
Oh,
Blackbeard
yeah.
Kraken says, "Are you both hopeful that the numbers of the counter protests are representative of the force of their movement?"
I think that it genuinely is because you see protests like these happen all the time. And if you even compare the one that happened in Edinburgh, 20 people showed up, and there were, what, 500 of us
Hmm.
at the protest on Saturday. And I think that's a genuine representation of what's happening, of what people think in Britain. Because the people thinking this might be a minority, but they're still thinking it, and they're
Yeah.
still actively wanting um, black people to go through pain like this, which I think is the worst thing.
Hmm.
Which is why
I think,
stereotypes,
yeah.
which is why I think stereotypes like black people are dangerous. A black woman saying they don't, a black woman's sure standing up for herself is seen as her being angry. I think that when
Hmm.
you knock these stereotypes out and make sure they don't exist, eventual change will happen, which I think is the biggest thing that should happen.
I think that's the thing. Like, even though like numbers doesn't really mean the most, does that make sense? Like, if you're
Yeah.
protesting for a good cause, it's just kind of like as long as you're heard, that's the main thing. But with the counter protest, I think it's not even a case of numbers being a thing of their movement. I think I was just worried with after seeing the footage of down south, what if that happens here? And I was just more worried for like even like when we were at the protest and your mum was like, "Where's TJ going?" Like, and we were like worried for you and everything like that. Like, it's that sense of I just didn't want any violence to come among the black community and people, the allies that were there and things like that. That's what my biggest worry was, that I was so relieved when it was like only a handful of people there. And it was also just laughable because it was like you're fighting for the city, but then look at all the allies that have the same color skin as you that are on our side.
Yeah,
So
and
what
I
is the
think that
representation of
the police did do well on the day. I
that?
think that was one of the biggest takeaways of it, is that the
Yeah,
police were stopping violence from happening. Because if they weren't there, I'm sure they would have came over and done lots of, probably attacked someone. But the
mm,
fact that they were there doing their jobs and standing up for the Black Lives Matter movement was one of the biggest takeaways and one of the best things that happened during the protest.
yeah, that's good. The police presence was, that's the thing. It was good that it was there, and it was the good thing to see was that they were, as soon as the counter protest left, the police left. And they were like, okay, that's it. Like we're done. And I think I was a bit worried that maybe they'll stick around or whatever, but they actually did come to protect, and that was a good thing that they made it known that like we're here to make sure they don't come near you guys, and we'll stand in place.
Yeah,
So that was a positive. But I'm cautious of time because we've only got a couple minutes left. So I just want to say thank you, TJ, for coming, and thank you for everything you've done, and just be proud of yourself. That's the biggest thing. Be proud of yourself, and all the like the amazing comments that you've been getting, they are true because you have such, and like I can't even think of the word. My English is just losing, but I'm saying you have like such high, like I have such high hopes for you in your future. You can do anything, and for doing the things you're doing at 14, like damn, you're a force to be reckoned with, and you're gonna do so well. So that's a good
thank you.
thing. But let people know where they can find you
Yeah,
on social media. I'm gonna tag you on this video when I post it. But yeah, thank you
yeah.
for your help and thank you for today's chat. It's been really nice.
Thank you for having me.
All right,
Yeah.
see you soon, guys. Bye.